I used to believe that if something in your life was crumbling, you'd feel it before it fell. Like you'd notice the cracks forming, hear the groaning of the foundation, have a chance to brace yourself. But when it happened to me, I didn't hear a damn thing. No sirens. No warnings. Just silence, and then the sound of my own heart breaking in a restaurant parking lot. My name is Tom. I'm 38, married to Allison for just over a decade. We don't have kids, but we've been building a life together since our 20s. Shared road trips, late-night grocery runs, spontaneous picnics in the back of the car. The kind of life that might seem boring to some, but to me, it was everything. Allison is smart, confident, always the one with the plans. She's in marketing, fast-moving industry, lots of dinners and networking events. I work in logistics, mostly behind the scenes. We made it work. Or so I thought. That Thursday, things seemed normal. Actually, better than normal. She'd been promoted earlier that week, something she'd been chasing for months. She was glowing when she told me, hugged me tighter than usual, and said her boss was organizing a dinner that night to celebrate. I remember how she smiled, how proud she looked. But when I asked if I could come just to stop by and toast with her, she hesitated. Said it was just the team. Company culture thing, she called it. No spouses. I didn't push back. That was a mistake. The rest of the day felt off. She texted me around noon. Hey babe, don't wait up for me. Might run late tonight. Love you. I replied something generic like, no problem, have fun. But deep down, something gnawed at me. You know how your brain sometimes catches something your heart tries to ignore? That's what it was, like a splinter in my gut I couldn't quite locate. At 5:30, I finished up at work. And instead of heading home, I made a choice. I stopped at the flower shop near our place. Got her a bouquet of peonies, her favorite, especially the pale pink ones. It wasn't a grand gesture. I just thought maybe she'd like the surprise. I pulled into the restaurant lot a little before 6:30. It wasn't some upscale corporate place, it was one of those boutique bistros with exposed brick and Edison lights, the kind of place you'd take a date if you wanted to impress them without being flashy. I figured I'd just drop off the flowers and say a quick hello, maybe meet a few coworkers. Nothing too dramatic. That's when I saw her. She was already there, seated outside on the terrace under those fancy space heaters. Her back was to me at first. Her dress was black, low-cut, not office attire. And she was laughing. Really laughing. The kind of laugh where her head tilted back and her eyes lit up. I hadn't seen her laugh like that in a long time. Not with me, anyway. And across from her was a man I didn't recognize. Sharp jawline. Business casual. Confident posture. His hand was resting on the table, palm up, and hers was almost touching it. Not quite. But it didn't have to be. The in asterisk Macy was all over their body language. He was leaning in like he knew her secrets. She was responding like she wanted to tell him more. I sat there in my car for a full minute, gripping the steering wheel. I should have left. I should have driven away and called a friend or gone home or something. Anything. But I didn't. I got out, flowers in hand, and walked toward them like I was in a dream I couldn't wake up from. I saw her notice me out of the corner of her eye. Her smile dropped like someone had flipped a switch. She straightened up, her face going pale. The guy looked confused, glanced back at me, then at her. Allison, I said quietly when I reached the table. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I placed the bouquet gently on the edge of the table. These were for you, I said. And then I walked away. No yelling. No drama. Just silence and a hole in my chest. Back in my car, my hands shook as I started the engine. I didn't even know where to go. Home didn't feel like home. Work felt pointless. I ended up just sitting there with the windows up, breathing like I just finished a marathon. I pulled out my phone. My screen still showed her last message. Love you. I stared at those 2 words for a while, 2 words that had felt like comfort for so long. And now? They felt hollow. I opened a new text and typed slowly. You asked me not to come. I came and now I understand. I hit send. Then I just sat there, staring at the restaurant, watching as the man leaned closer to her, asking something. She didn't answer him right away. I wonder what she told him. If she said I was her husband. If she said anything at all. The rest of the night is a blur. I drove around aimlessly, barely noticing the lights changing, the people on the sidewalks, the radio murmuring low in the background. It felt like I'd stepped out of my own life and was watching it unravel from a distance. When I finally made it home, I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and stood in the hallway for a long time. The house felt different, like someone had rearranged the furniture just enough to make it feel unfamiliar. I sat on the edge of the couch, still in my work clothes, staring at the spot where Allison usually curled up after dinner. I thought about all the times I missed signs. The late nights, the new perfume, the business trips that didn't add up. How often had I chosen to trust instead of question? There was still a vase of half-dead flowers on the dining table from the last time she brought some home, 3 weeks ago, I think. I got up, dumped them in the trash, and filled the vase with water. The gesture felt absurd. What would I put in it now? I looked at my phone again. No response from her. She'd probably show up later with an excuse. Maybe say it was a client or a colleague or a miscommunication. Maybe she'd cry. Maybe she wouldn't. But I had already seen it. Seen her face when she thought I wasn't watching. Seen the smile she saved for someone else. And I couldn't unsee it. The silence in the house that night was like static in my ears. Everything felt louder, the hum of the fridge, the faint creak of the heating ducts, even the occasional tick from the clock on the wall. I sat in the living room, still in my jacket, staring at nothing. Allison came home around 10:30. I didn't hear the car pull in, but I recognized her keys in the lock, the familiar chime of her steps as she walked in. She paused when she saw me sitting there. Her eyes scanned the room, me, the untouched dinner on the table, the empty vase. "Hey," she said, her voice casual. "Practiced? You're still up?" I didn't answer. She took off her heels slowly, then walked over like everything was fine. Like I hadn't just watched her flirt with another man on a terrace, like she hadn't looked at someone else the way she used to look at me. "How was your night?" she asked, flipping her hair back and heading into the kitchen. Her tone had that bright, fake cheer I was now starting to recognize as a cover. "Fine," I said flatly. She paused for a second, sensing something in my voice. Then continued anyway, opening the fridge, grabbing a bottle of water like she hadn't just stepped out of a different life and into mine. "The dinner went well," she said. "Team was in a good mood. Boss gave a little speech. You know how those things go." I stared at her. Watched the way she avoided eye contact. Watched her sip water like nothing had happened. That night on the terrace, her hand almost touching his, it played in my head like a loop I couldn't turn off. "You sat outside," I said. She blinked. "What?" "The restaurant. You sat outside on the terrace. Just you and one guy." There it was. The crack. Just a flicker across her expression. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something but didn't know what. "Oh," she said finally. "That was Andrew. From Creative. We got there early. The others came a bit later." I didn't nod. I didn't move. I just kept looking at her. Not my wife, but the stranger who knew how to lie with a straight face. She came closer. "Tom, what's going on?" I wanted to scream at her. Ask her why she lied. Why she kept pretending. But I said nothing. Eventually she gave up trying to engage me. She went upstairs and I heard the bathroom door close. A minute later, the sound of the shower running. She was washing off the night, rinsing away her lies. Like that would make them disappear. I sat in the dark for another hour. The next few days were worse than I expected. You'd think once you see the truth, once you catch the betrayal with your own eyes, that things would be clearer. Simpler. But they weren't. They got foggier. Messier. Allison acted like nothing was wrong. She still made coffee in the mornings. Still asked about my day like we hadn't crossed some invisible line. But I couldn't look at her the same way. Couldn't listen to her talk about work or errands or the new boots she wanted without wondering if she was lying again. And suddenly, everything I'd ignored before came flooding back. The late nights. The sudden business trips. The perfume I never bought her and the new lingerie she said was just for fun. The time I saw a text pop up and she snatched her phone like it was a bomb about to go off. The night she came home from a team retreat smelling like someone else's cologne and told me it was probably just from hugging people goodbye. Back then, I wanted to believe her. Needed to. Yeah? I was replaying every second like a detective combing through cold case footage. There was one night a couple months earlier I couldn't stop thinking about. She had come home late, nearly midnight. Said she'd been catching up with coworkers after a client pitch. She looked flushed. Her hair was tousled, her makeup a little smudged. She kissed me quickly, almost guiltily, and went straight to the shower. At the time, I told myself she was just tired. Now I saw it differently. She wasn't just late. She wasn't just tired. She was hiding something. And the worst part? I hadn't wanted to see it. I'd ignored my instincts. Let my trust fill in the blanks. The following weekend, she said she had to work on a Saturday. Big client deadline, she said, grabbing her laptop bag and giving me a rushed kiss on the cheek. I watched her leave. I waited 5 minutes, then followed her. She didn't go to her office. She drove across town, parked near a cafe, and walked straight into a small hotel lobby. I didn't follow her inside. I just sat in my car, staring at the entrance, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. 30 minutes later, she came out, alone. She was adjusting her hair in the reflection of the glass door. smiling. I watched as she got in her car and drove away. That night, she told me about how stressful the work session was. Andrew kept getting distracted, she said with a laugh, but I kept us on track. And just like that, a lie delivered with a smile. I knew I had to confront her. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. I needed more than suspicions. I needed facts. So I waited. And while I waited, I started looking closer. Her phone? Always locked now. Face down. Notifications silenced. When I asked about it, she laughed it off, just trying to unplug. Her laptop? Password changed. Her schedule? Suddenly full of vague meetings, off-site brainstorms, and quick drinks with the team. The woman I married used to tell me everything. Now, she was giving me just enough to keep me from asking more. But I was done staying quiet. That Monday night, I pretended to be asleep when she came home late again. She tiptoed into the room, moving gently. I could hear her phone buzzing in the hallway before she silenced it. I cracked one eye open just enough to see her silhouette in the doorway. She stood there for a while, just staring at me, like maybe she was deciding if she could keep this up. If I was still blind. Then she turned and left the room. And in that moment, I realized I didn't know her anymore. I didn't know who she was outside of me. Outside of us. The woman who used to run her fingers through my hair when I had a headache. Who used to ask if I'd remembered to drink water that day. Who used to send me texts like, "Miss you already," just 10 minutes after I left the house. That woman was gone. And whoever took her place. She could lie without blinking. And I could no longer pretend not to see it. I used to think finding proof would bring me relief. That once I had the facts, the undeniable, concrete truth, I'd finally feel some sense of power in the middle of the chaos. But when that moment came, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like grief. A quiet, hollow grief that sank into my chest like a stone. It happened on a Wednesday night. Allison was in the shower. Her phone, for once, was unlocked, left charging in the kitchen, screen up. Maybe she got comfortable. Maybe she thought I'd never look. But I did. I don't know what I was expecting. A message. A photo. Maybe a contact name that didn't belong. What I didn't expect was an open email thread. Subject line, "Next weekend, Reheart." The sender, Andrew.m.design@. I opened it. "Hey love, confirmed for Saturday. Can't wait to see you again. That place by the lake was incredible. Let's do it again, but this time no work talk, okay? Just us. I've booked the suite already, same one." Winking face. My stomach dropped. There was a reply. From her. "Perfect. Just told Tom I'll be at a team retreat again. You're bad for me, you know that? But I can't stay away. Same time, same place." I stared at those words, rereading them over and over until they blurred. Just told Tom? You're bad for me. Can't stay away. I closed the app. My hands were shaking. My pulse was deafening in my ears. The sound of water still running upstairs like nothing was wrong. Like the world hadn't just tilted sideways. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I needed more. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed her again 2 days later. Friday night. She said she was going to a team dinner at a new steakhouse. She left in a black dress I hadn't seen before. Hair curled. Lips red. Not work appropriate, not even close. I waited 10 minutes, then left. I didn't follow her in my car this time. I called a cab. Told the driver to take me to the restaurant. When we arrived, I didn't go in. I circled the lot, then headed toward the back, where there was a side patio partially hidden by hedges. I stayed just far enough to keep out of view. And there she was. Not with her team. Not even with 2 or 3 people. Just her and Andrew seated in the corner under string lights, sharing a bottle of wine. I took out my phone. Snapped a picture. 1, 2, 3. Then a burst. Her hand on his wrist. His fingers grazing hers. The smile on her face like it belonged to someone I didn't know. I didn't go inside. I didn't even wait for her to see me. I left, called another cab, and went home. She got back just before midnight. I heard her heels on the stairs. The soft thud of her bag hitting the counter. Then silence. I was in the kitchen. When she walked in and saw me standing there, she froze. "Hey," she said, trying to mask the slight surprise in her voice. "Why are you still up?" I didn't respond right away. I just looked at her. She walked over to the fridge, grabbed a glass of water like she hadn't just stepped out of another life. "Dinner was nice," she said. "Long. You know how those things go." I pulled out my phone. Opened the gallery. Turned the screen toward her. "Really? Is that how they go?" Her eyes flicked to the image. Her smile evaporated. She didn't even pretend not to recognize it. Her lips parted slightly, but she said nothing. I swiped to the next photo. Then the next. Still silence. "That's not a work dinner," I said. Tom, she started, voice low. Let me explain. Explain what? I cut in. That you lied? That you snuck around? That I was right this whole time? She stepped closer. It's not what it looks like. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was pathetic. Don't say that, I snapped. Don't insult me with the worst line in the book. Her expression changed then. The calm cracked. The mask slipped. Okay, she said, her voice harder now. You want the truth? Fine. Yes. Andrew and I are close. Emotionally. Emotionally, I repeated. Yes, she nodded. But it's not physical. It hasn't gone that far. That word, yet, hung unspoken in the air. Do you think that makes it better? I asked, incredulous. You're telling me you've been emotionally cheating for what, months? But it's okay because you haven't slept with him. It's not that simple. Then explain it, I said. Make it make sense. She looked down, inhaled sharply. We connected, she said. It started with work. Late nights. Talking. Venting. He listened. I felt seen again. I didn't mean for it to become something else, but it did. And I didn't stop it. I stared at her. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know how, she said, her voice breaking. Because you've been distant too. Because every time I wanted to talk to you, you were buried in work or half listening or already tired. So you found someone else. I didn't mean to, she said again. I stepped back, keeping my voice even. You lied to me. You lied to my face. Over and over. I know, she whispered. Are you in love with him? She didn't answer. That silence said more than any words could. Do you want to leave? I asked. She shook her head. No. I don't. I wanted to see if there was still something here. I stared at her, stunned. You don't get to experiment with my heart like that, Allison. She said nothing. Pack your things, I said. Her eyes widened. Tom, no, I interrupted. We're not doing this halfway. You don't get to lie and stay. You don't get to test me like I'm a backup plan. She looked like she wanted to argue. But something in my face must have told her not to. She nodded once. Slowly. Then turned and went upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen. Didn't move. Just listened as drawers opened, closets shifted. It didn't sound like heartbreak. It sounded like a chapter ending. An hour later, she came down with a suitcase. I'll go to a hotel, she said. Just for now. I nodded once. She stood there for a second like she was waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. She walked out the door. Didn't look back. And for the first time in weeks, the house was quiet. The night Allison left, I didn't sleep. Not because I was overwhelmed with grief or anger, those feelings had already burned through me. What I felt now was different. Numb, maybe? Detached. The kind of calm that only comes after a storm when you're standing in the wreckage and your body hasn't realized you're bleeding. She took just one suitcase. Left most of her things behind. The kind of departure that didn't feel final, but I knew in my gut that it was. Maybe not for her, but for me. Something was finished. Irrevocably. Around 1 a.m. I sat on the edge of her bed, still dressed in yesterday's clothes, staring at the doorway like she might walk back in. The silence in the house was thick and my thoughts spun in slow, heavy circles. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You did the right thing. Check your email. You need to know the truth. I just stared at the message for a minute, rereading it like it might rearrange itself into something that made more sense. No name. No context. Just that eerie line, you need to know the truth. I almost didn't do it. I should have ignored it. But instead, I opened my laptop and logged into my email. There it was. An unread message titled, About her. The sender's address was nothing I recognized. No name. Just a jumble of numbers and letters. There was a file attached. I clicked download, then opened it. Took a second to load. And when it did, everything changed. The screen filled with photos. Dozens of them. Allison. And Andrew. Some I recognized, the cafe by her office, the little park near our old apartment. Others were new. A hotel room with a floor-to-ceiling window. A beachside cottage I'd never seen before. A ski resort she claimed was for a conference. They weren't just standing together. They were holding hands, kissing, lounging together in robes, laughing, tangled in bedsheets. One photo showed Allison in the black dress from the steakhouse. Andrew behind her, his arms wrapped around her waist, her head tilted back against his shoulder. Her smile so real it made my stomach turn. Each picture was time-stamped. This wasn't just emotional. This wasn't just recent. It had been going on for months. And then I saw the video file. I hesitated, hovered my finger over the trackpad. then hit play. It was a short clip taken from a phone. Blurry, grainy, probably sh*t through a cracked window. But the audio was clear. Her voice, soft, laughing. Tom will never find out. He believes everything I tell him. Andrew's voice responded, he's a good guy. I almost feel bad. Don't. He doesn't see me anymore. That's not your fault. No, but it's not my problem either. She laughed again. I closed the laptop slowly, set it on the coffee table and leaned back, letting the words wash over me again. He believes everything I tell him. It's not my problem. This wasn't just cheating. It was mockery, calculated, cruel. She hadn't just lied, she'd manipulated. She'd used my trust as a shield, my love as cover. And somewhere along the line, I became invisible to her. Not just unimportant, irrelevant. I sat there for maybe an hour, not moving, barely breathing. Eventually, I replied to the number that had messaged me. Who are you? The reply came instantly. Daniel. We used to work together. Want to know more? Meet me tomorrow. Park near the library. 10 a.m. I'll be in a gray hoodie. I stared at the message. Every part of me told me not to go. That it was reckless. That I'd already seen more than enough. But I couldn't not go. I needed to know how deep this went. Why someone would send me all of this. What they wanted. The next morning I barely slept. Got dressed in a daze. Coffee tasted like ash in my mouth. The air outside was sharp, the sky overcast. I parked near the old stone library and walked into the park, keeping my eyes peeled. And there he was, mid-30s, average build, sitting on a bench with his hood up. As I approached, he stood. You Tom? He asked. Yeah. He held out a flash drive. You might want to sit down. I didn't take it yet. Why are you doing this? He sighed. I knew Allison. Not the way Andrew does, but I was close to her. For a while. I raised an eyebrow. You were together? He shook his head. No, she tried. Back when we worked on the same team. I was going through a divorce at the time and she was persistent. She liked playing people. I didn't fall for it, but I saw what she was doing. She's charming when she wants to be, and cold when she doesn't get her way. And this, I gestured to the drive. He nodded. I started documenting things, watching. At first, I thought maybe I was overreacting. Then I saw her with Andrew, and I recognized the pattern. I had a friend, Jake, who also got tangled with her. Ended messy. She doesn't just cheat. She manipulates, controls, uses. Why now? I asked. Why tell me? Because I watched her ruin people, he said. And you didn't deserve that. You were the one name that kept popping up whenever she needed an excuse. Tom won't notice. Tom's clueless. It was like watching someone rob a house and laugh about how easy it was. I didn't know what to say. He handed me the flash drive. Everything's on here. Messages, photos, even a few voice memos. I nodded, slowly taking it. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, he said, turning to walk away. But you should trust what's on that drive. I sat on the bench long after he was gone, staring at the small black object in my hand like it might explode. When I got home, I plugged it in. More photos, dates, hotel receipts, GPS pings, even screen recordings of her texts with Andrew. He's so easy to fool. It's almost boring. I'm thinking of moving out, but only after the bonus hits. He still calls me his girl. Cute, right? I felt sick. That night I didn't eat, didn't drink, didn't speak to anyone. I sat with the evidence. Let it burn into my brain. Let it ruin every fond memory I ever had of her. The next day, Allison texted me. I want to come by and grab a few things. Will you be home? I stared at the message. Typed one word. Yes. 5. But before she arrived, I laid everything out on the dining table. The photos, the *TS, the receipts, the timeline, the flash drive next to it like an open casket. When she walked in, her expression was unreadable. She looked around, eyes landing on the evidence. She didn't speak. Neither did I. I just stepped back and let her look. She moved toward the table slowly, scanning each piece. Her face drained of color. Her hand trembled slightly. When she finally looked at me, her eyes were wide. Not with guilt, with fear. True, real fear. What is this? She whispered. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. She sank into a chair like the weight of it all finally caught up to her. I leaned forward. You destroyed everything I said, my voice low. And now you won't walk away without consequences. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. She just sat there. Silent. Cornered. Exactly where the truth had put her. The day after Allison saw the evidence, she disappeared again. No calls. No messages. Just gone. She didn't ask for her things, didn't respond to mine. A void where our marriage used to live. I should have felt relief. I didn't. I felt something colder, clarity. I wasn't mourning her anymore. I was analyzing. Reconstructing. Trying to piece together how long I'd been living with a version of her that wasn't real. I used to say I knew her better than anyone. Now I wondered if I ever knew her at all. That morning, I sat in the quiet of the living room, staring at the table where I'd laid everything out for her the night before. It was still there, photos, printouts, that little black flash drive like a grenade that had already gone off. Then my phone buzzed again. Same number. You okay? I didn't answer at first. Then, not really. But I will be. He replied in seconds. There's more I couldn't share yesterday. Meet me again. Same park. Noon. It was a Saturday. I didn't even think twice. Just grabbed my keys and headed out. The sun was out this time, but the breeze had that mid-autumn bite. The leaves had turned red, gold, orange. Everything felt like it was changing around me, and for once, it wasn't just in my head. Daniel was already on the bench when I arrived. Same hoodie. Hands in his pockets. He looked up and nodded as I approached. Hey. I sat down beside him. I looked through everything. That was a lot. He gave a half smile. Told you. For a moment, we just sat there in silence. Watching people walk their dogs. Kids chasing each other down the path. It was surreal, normal life happening all around me while I sat there in the middle of a wreckage only I could see. Finally, I asked, why did you start tracking her? He didn't look at me. Because I saw what she did to people. She's not just a cheater, Tom. She's a manipulator. She plays this long game, gives you attention, builds trust, figures out what you need. Then she uses it. Turns it on you. You said you were almost involved? He nodded. Back when I first joined the company. I was going through a separation. She sensed it. Moved in quick, friendly texts, long lunches, checking in late at night. I thought she was just being kind. But she wanted more? She always does. But not in the way you think. He turned toward me. She doesn't fall in love. She collects control. Makes people orbit her. Then she watches them burn. It sounded harsh. Paranoid even. But something about the way he said it, flat, exhausted, made me believe him. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a folder. Here, he said. Stuff I didn't want to send electronically. I opened it. Inside were *TS text messages between Allison and Andrew, but also some with other people. Men. Coworkers. Former clients. A guy named Blake. Another named Matt. Conversations that read like rehearsals. The same lines. The same pattern. You make me feel seen. He just doesn't listen anymore. I wish I met you first. Page after page of digital déjà vu. This is more than I expected, I said. She's done this before, Daniel said. But this time? It was worse. She wasn't just cheating. She was mocking you. Laughing at how easy it was. Why? Daniel looked at me, eyes sharp. Because she could. And because people like her don't stop until someone stops them. I felt my jaw tighten. So what do I do now? That's up to you, he said. But if you want to stop her? Really stop her? You hit where it hurts. Which is? Her image. Her leverage. Her connections. He leaned in slightly. Andrew is married. 2 kids. His wife, Megan, works in HR at their company. Strict policies. 0 tolerance. You give her this, he tapped the folder, and it sets off a chain reaction. I raised an eyebrow. You think I should blow this up at their office? No, he said quickly. I think you let the people who already have power do what needs to be done. Quietly. Strategically. And what about Allison? He paused, considering. She built her career on being the polished one. The poised one. If word gets out that she's been crossing lines with clients, colleagues, married coworkers, she's done. I leaned back on the bench, folder still in my lap. Felt dirty. Calculated. But then I remembered the video. Tom will never find out. She didn't just cheat. She made a mockery of my loyalty, of our marriage. I'm not trying to ruin her life, I said finally. You're not, Daniel replied. She did that herself. You're just making sure she doesn't do it to someone else. I nodded slowly. He stood, brushing leaves off his jeans. You have my number. If you need more, I've got backup. But honestly, you already have enough. He started to walk away, then turned back. Oh, and Tom? Don't let this make you bitter. Just smarter. Then he left. I stayed on the bench for a while, watching the wind stir the leaves, thinking about everything I'd just seen, everything I hadn't wanted to believe. It was like looking at a stranger's life and realizing it was mine. Later that evening, I went through the folder again. Every page, every message. I made copies, labeled everything, sorted it into a binder like a case file. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted closure, control. Before I went to bed, I wrote a short email to Megan.Hart ****. Subject: concerning your husband. Hi Megan, I don't know you, but I believe you deserve to know the truth. Attached are some files you may want to see. I'm not looking to cause drama or pain, but I thought it was only fair that you hear it from someone who knows what it feels like to be left in the dark. Best, Tom. I hesitated for a moment, then hit send. The next day I got a reply. Short, measured. Thank you. I believe you. I'll handle it. That was it. But somehow it was enough. I went to work Monday morning like nothing had happened. Answered emails. Drank coffee. People asked how I was, and I said fine like it wasn't a lie. By Wednesday, I got another message. They're both under review. HR is involved. You did the right thing. A day later, a different message from Allison. Why are people asking questions? What did you do? I didn't reply. You don't owe explanations to people who only tell the truth when they're caught. That night, I slept for the first time in weeks. The morning after I heard from Megan, I woke with purpose. For weeks I'd felt like a man reacting to life. Now I was setting the terms. I spent the day organizing. I printed every photo, every message, every receipt. Each piece was labeled, sorted, and bound. I even made copies. I wasn't out for revenge. I was out for truth. At 4:30 p.m., Allison texted, "Can I come by and grab my stuff?" I replied, "Be here at 5. She arrived right on time. I greeted her at the door. She tried to brush past me, but I stopped her. "Before you go upstairs," I said, "look at this." Her eyes scanned the table, taking in everything. Pages, photos, conversations printed in black and white. She looked pale, like her body went cold. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "Doesn't matter," I said. "What matters is it's real. And it's yours." She tried to speak, to twist it, but I cut her off. "You destroyed what we had. Now it's your turn to lose something." I didn't just let it die quietly. I made sure Megan had everything she needed. She submitted the file to HR. Within days, Andrew was fired. Allison's contract wasn't renewed. Their affair didn't end in love. It ended in resumes being shredded and reputations gutted. Allison came back once, angry, bitter. "You ruined everything," she hissed. I stared at her. "No," I said. "You did. I just stop."